read this tile now saying how this cave was found. So in 1899, Professor Dragutin Gojanovic Kramberger from Zagreb recognized and discovered prehistoric and Paleolithic dwelling place of prehistoric men in the sand deposits of the ancient semi-cave on the slopes of Hushnyakov Hill. So this is the statue of Dragutin Gojanovic Kramberger. He actually was the founder of the Hushnya cave. He was digging it with his crew, but actually he wasn't specialized for cavemen and fossils, but actually shells and sea fossils from sea life.
Of Krapina is amazing, fantastic. You can learn lots of different things, such as prehistoric mankind and how people wondered, did we come from monkeys, did we come from other animals, or is it Adam and Eve? It is a journey through time, the making of planet Earth and the making of mankind as we know it today in 24 hours. Only one single day. From dinosaurs and giant reptiles to storms and clouds. And of course, we cannot forget DNA molecules. To cracking ice resembling the ice ages. To the making of our world 4.5 billion years ago. To the elements then known as fire, earth, water, and air. The skulls from the oldest species to walk on our land. Lucy, the first man to walk on 2 legs, has to be mentioned and has a resemblance in our history and past. Erectus is the first man to deal with fire. Of course, he didn't make his own fire. He used fire from nature. The Neanderthal family, made from pure wax, is very realistic. Their hair is real, and their eyes are made from real lenses. You can see their activities, such as preparing food, weapons, clothes, them healing in the background, and children, with their stones, playing their own type of game. The cracking ice resembles the change and switch in climates from ice age to warm. The T-Rex cannot be forgotten. The child looking at its reflection, and the beholder of the sea skull showering on a waterfall. Skulls from all over the world. Africa, Europe, Asia, America, Iraq, Israel, France, and Spain have to be mentioned because lots of different fossils have been found there. Krapina also has lots and lots of different bones, fossils, and teeth. And the story ends when the first man went to space.
So here we have 3 examples, actually 2 examples of the Homo sapiens sapiens and the Neanderthals. So we can first, if we look at them closely, the first thing we see is that they were actually lower than us. They had much bigger heads and they were much stronger. And here you can see the widened ribs I was talking about. So they were much stronger. They could easily carry 200 kilograms easily. So this is actually a Homo sapiens, and you can see, okay, the jaw is a bit clogged, but you can see the differences between them. They also had much bigger noses, and by the foundings, their noses were actually squatted down, so they could breathe more easily in the harsh weathers. So I have just visited the Museum of Krapina, and it's actually bones and skeletons from Krapina cave, where they found Neanderthals. Now, what we can say, the main thing about them is, so you can see they had a much bigger skull than a human skull, Homo sapiens skull. You can see it, and something we can very see. So this is a replica of the head C, actually, they found in Krapina. You can see how their eyes are bulged out. So that's, and their foreheads are very, how to say, not big. They're very small foreheads. And about their spine and ribs, they had widened ribs, so because they lived in harsh weathers, they actually lived in the ice ages, and so the main thing why they had these ribs so wide is that all their inner organs to keep as further away as they can be from the skin and in contact with the snow or harsh weather.
This is the sea skull, or Krapina 3, sort of the signature cranium from the site. It's pictured on so many different times and places on the covers of books, etc. But for our work, I've been working with Yaakov and with a colleague from the British Museum, Jill Cook. We were interested in there's some marks that occur on the forehead of the sea skull. They run from just above the brow ridges up the forehead, and probably continued on. We don't know because that piece was not found. What's interesting and what's important about these marks is that they're not associated with cannibalism. There's nothing to eat there. There's no flesh. The significance of these bones is that it indicates some kind of ceremonialism, something beyond just eating. We don't know what it was, but clearly after this individual died, we think it was a female and it was clearly an adult individual. After the individual died, some other Neanderthal held the skull, probably with the flesh on it, and made these marks across the forehead as some kind of ritual symbolic behavior. You don't really know what the meaning of it was, but clearly you can see these marks here. So again, it tells us something about Neanderthals as being something other than just fools that were walking across the countryside. They had some knowledge of the afterlife and some ways of trying to express this in this individual that died.
But their diet was actually almost 80% just pure meat. In the museum, we can see lots of amazing replicas or even some originals of the skulls of the cavemen. You can see how the Neanderthal is much different than us today. You can see, for example, a skeleton. This is a bit too long. So what I can say about how they looked like. So they were shorter, they were bigger and stronger. Then what actually happened, so first we had the apes. And now there were lots of debates. Were apes our ancestors? Were they not? Were they again? Were some other animals our ancestors? Or was it all from Adam and Eve? So we're not sure. But then we found Lucy. Lucy is one of actually the first apes that didn't need their arms to help them walk. And they walked, so she walked only on two legs. And they call her the African Eve because she was actually female. Then mortar came the moss, then came the erectus. And one very important thing about the erectus is that he was the first actually caveman or man that could deal with fire. He didn't make fire, of course. He didn't make his own fire with sticks like the Neanderthals or the Homo sapiens did. But he would find if there was some fire caused by lightning somewhere in the wild. He would know how to use it, cook with it. But now we're not sure. Did he even make his own fire or not? We don't know, but it is assumed that he didn't. The Neanderthals were before the Homo sapiens, and they were a species that really improved. And then, even more, improved the Homo sapiens. The Neanderthals actually made the first instruments, and in the museum is actually a replica of a flute they have made. They have taken the horn and made holes in it, and then they made a flute. What I can say, so about the families, they would heal, they would, when someone died, they would pay their respects. We put flowers, and they would actually make a comma onto the skull. And on the sea skull, which is actually the most popular skull in Krapina, or should I say Hushnak, because clearly you can see on the skull very easily the cuts, and you can see how their eyes were popped out. So actually the founder of, as I said before, the founder of Hushnak is Dragutin Gorjanovic Kamberger, and he was a specialist for seashells and fossil seashells, but then he found Hushnak and the bones, and his crew digged up the bones, and they found it was, so all the bones had to be protected with a chemical. And even now today in Zagreb, in the Academy of Science and Art, is held those bones, but they're not allowed to be seen by other people. Not rarely even scientists today can see it. So only professionals. So now we are near the cave Hushnak, which was found by Dragutin Gorjanovic Kramberger. So there are actually two myths or beliefs. So why did only the Homo sapiens stay? And why did these Neanderthals leave? Well, the first one is called out of Africa. So it says that the Homo sapiens went out of Africa to the world, killed every other species, and ruled. But the other theory, which is actually scientifically proved right, it's called multi-regional model. And actually, that way is that they mixed. And then, for example, there was a child, and they found the skeleton in Iraq. The child's mother was a Neanderthal, and the child's father was Homo sapiens. I'm right now in front of a statue of a cave bear. the second most hunted animal on the Neanderthals menu, and you can find a skull and some bones of the cave bear at Veternica. It's near Medvednica. And this is the end, but one thing I forgot to say, and it really actually surprised me, is that their number one animal on their menu is a rhino.